every day that we get up is a day to be grateful, is a day to give thanks. So we do that. And not just to live selfishly, but to live to impact another person, right?
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Heneka Watkis-Porter, previously episode 1407 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 2 months, 30 days, 12 hours, and 15 minutes since we last recorded that conversation. That was then.
My gosh.
This is now. Heneka, how are you doing today?
I am doing very well. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be alive. God is good.
Well, thankfully, that wasn't the end of our conversations. Like, we've had conversations in between. You are a remarkable person. You get the job done. Amongst everything else, when we last spoke, the podcast was going on, right? The Entrepreneurial You. How have things evolved today?
Since then, oh my God, and you've been so precise with to the exact minute, right? Of course, with everything, this has been ups and downs, roller coaster. But overall, though, I can say truly that I have been enjoying the ride. Riding the waves and going along. So I think when we last spoke, I hadn't done Leadercast yet, or I was just about to do it. I'm not sure. But yes, I've been hosting Leadercast conferences that, come as a result of the podcast. I just launched a book, yay,
Sweet.
Podcast Power, the quick start guide to launching and leveling up your brand. So many things have gone on. I've, speaking on various stages in relation to podcasting. So I'm truly happy about that.
How does it make you feel, though, when you look back over the last couple of years? Or even if you go further past those years to the point where you almost lost your life in that river, right? To what you've become today. How does it make you feel?
Looking back, it's funny because somebody, a very known gospel artist here, just asked me, I think he just released a single called In the Mirror. And he asked me to kind of, just give a little 1-minute video and stuff. And it's all talking about when you look in the mirror, what do you see? And I shared that very short video. I said that, when I looked in the mirror back then, or rather, I would not look in the mirror at all. When what I saw was somebody who was not confident, who doubted themselves, had no sense of self, no self-esteem, whatever. But today, truly, when I look in the mirror, I see all the purpose that has been embedded in me. I see possibilities, I see impacts, I see how I'm changing the world and how much more, what I need to do to change the world. So vis-a-vis then to now, it's an awesome experience. And not to say that there has not been in recent times, down moments, because in fact there have been several of those, but I put them into perspective, and I'm not defined by them, is what I know. So I don't allow them to define me.
There seem to be inspirational points that you have in your life, right? And of course, you could have kept them close to your heart, right? You could have said, I'm not sharing these, but you stepped out there to share them. Inspiration. You said that. You said life transformation through inspiration. Have you achieved that goal, or are you still continuing to achieve that goal?
I'm still continuing to achieve that goal, and to an extent I have, because when I see the feedback, when I hear the feedback and stuff from persons who engage with me online and say how vicariously they're living through my own eyes, that gives me a sense of accomplishment, because not only are they, inspired, but a lot of them are moved, to act, and that for me is inspiring. But as I grow older, Angel, what I'm thinking about is not so much success, but more so significance. And as a woman of faith, I think God has been speaking to my heart a lot more about that, and creating impact for His kingdom, which I'm a firm believer in, and I'm a part of. So recently, I've just started an initiative which hasn't even got off the ground yet, but I've made the first few steps that are required to get it off the ground, which is to get a team together for the Grace to Grow Ministries. And it's just, the idea behind that is that we all need grace to grow, and we need to give each other that grace to grow and give people second chances. So it's going to be catering to women who are disenfranchised, women who society has turned its back on, so that they know that they matter and they know that people care about them.
The voice. There's a voice that we hear. In fact, there's so many voices that we hear now, right? There's social media now, there's TV, there's the internet with every other platform that's there. How do you discern which voice is the correct voice to listen for Heneka to move forward in?
Wow, that's such a very deep question. And so for me, what happens is that I need to be in line with my compass, right? Which many times, confession, I fall off. I don't always listen. But the truth is, I have a compass that guides me, and that compass comes in the form of the Holy Spirit for me. I am a child of God, and for me, that is important. So, for example, even recently, why I was really led and pushed really to start the Grace to Grow Ministries is simply because I came to a near-death experience just in January 2020, and it's like I saw my life flash before my eyes, and I asked myself the question, what would have been my impact had it just been the last moment for me? And for that, it became abundantly clear that yes, I'm doing the podcast, and yes, I'm all for entrepreneurship and leadership, which is important, and I'm serving that segment of society. But I also need to get deeper and spread the love of God, spread the fact that Jesus mattered. I know this, I'm getting I know it's not a spiritual
I
podcast,
don't
but
think
I'm
you
just
should
led.
apologize for who
But
you are.
yeah, but
Yeah, go
yeah,
for it.
I just want to share my heart because I think for too long I have somewhat kept my heart a secret. And I need to share that now because I realize how important it is, not just to earn and to grind and to earn the dollar which we want, and we want to survive and we want to be wealthy. We all do that, we all want that. But for me right now, even more so than before, it's more about significance. And I think in that moment, so you ask the question, how do I know which voice to discern? It's in that quiet moment. Sometimes that voice comes like a mighty rushing wind. Sometimes it comes like a very still small voice, and it's so discerning for me. Which when is he really speaking to me? When is that voice really speaking to me? And when do I take action? And how do I take action? And yes, I'm confused, as confused get sometimes, but my desire is to obey that voice.
In the midst of everything, Heneka is operating. However, there's another half, right? Your husband. How has he been
Yes.
impacted by everything that has evolved with you and the podcast?
Yeah, he is just watch me. Like he has no inclination at all for business. Absolutely no desire to be entrepreneurial. Not an entrepreneurial bone in his body, but he's a very supportive behind the scene player. I'm his boss. So if I say do this, do that, he does it and he supports in every way. But and he's impacted. I know that he's inspired by how driven and passionate I am. Sometimes he keeps it to himself, but I know I can read him a lot, so I feel the support.
There's a Caribbean joke. Well, I just remember one guy saying, his daughter-in-law is always saying, you see the boss man, which is his son, right? Her husband, right? So he said, one day he sat down with her and he said, what this guy is do that you is calling boss man? She said, no, you're interpreting it wrong. It's not he's the boss man. I is the boss. He's the boss man.
Good one. So is that from Trinidad? Because I've never heard it in Jamaica.
It is from Trinidad.
Yeah, and I like the way you guys talk with the accent. So that accent is, I know it's gonna come up. Yeah, I'm Trini. I Trini. You better adapt me.
Definitely. Well, Heneka, it's such of a grand opportunity, my friend, to just call in right up the north of us, right? But to know that you've not given up, that you've continued on this path. Of course, in the Caribbean, it's a lot different from what's going on in what's called, quote, first world countries with what happens in the media stream. But you've stepped out, my friend, and you've made some big, hairy, audacious goals, and you've not given up. So I do appreciate that. I do thank you for your service to humanity, because as I said before, you didn't have to share. You could have kept this and said, no, I'm not teaching anyone how to do podcasts. No, I'm not teaching anyone how they can understand who they are. No, I'm not teaching anyone how to connect to their Lord, their Father, their God. But you've done that. So I do thank you for your service to humanity. In closing, my friend, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
I just want to say, every day that we get up is a day to be grateful, is a day to give thanks. So we do that. And not just to live selfishly, but to live to impact another person, right? When you're no longer a part of this life, yes, that sounds scary, but whatever. When you're no longer a part of this life, what are people going to be saying about you? What legacy are you leaving behind? And it's important because, for succession moving forward, of our country, of our world, it's very, very important that we reflect on these things. So except to know where you can find me, say that. Plus, you can find me at henekawatkis-porter.com, and I'm on all social media.
And check out the podcast too, The
Yeah.
Entrepreneurial You. Yeah.
Yeah, the Entrepreneurial You. How could I forget that, right?
Yeah, there we go. Again, Heneka, a great pleasure. A pleasure I treasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.